Have you ever judged someone just by the clothes they wore? What if the person you mocked, laughed at, and dismissed was wealthier than you could ever imagine? This is the story of a humble farm woman who walked into town in her worn-out dress, only to be laughed at by the so-called elite. But what they didn't know was that her quiet strength, her hidden fortune, and her powerful heart would change everything. Stay with me till the end, because what happens in the final moments will leave you speechless. Maria was a farm woman in her late 30s, with sun-kissed skin, calloused hands, and a simple way of life. She lived on the outskirts of town, where her family had owned land for generations. Her days were filled with feeding chickens, tending to crops, and milking cows at sunrise. To many, she looked like just another hard-working villager. But inside her heart, she carried both pride and sorrow. Her late father had left her acres of farmland, land she had quietly expanded, rented out, and invested wisely. Over the years, she had become one of the wealthiest landowners in the region. But she never showed it. She didn't flaunt jewelry, luxury cars, or branded clothes. She preferred her old cotton dresses, a straw hat, and boots that carried the dust of the fields. One morning, Maria needed to visit town for supplies. She put on her plain dress, the same one she had worn for years, and tied her hair back in a simple braid. When she walked into the market, she noticed the stares. A group of young women, dressed in fashionable clothes, whispered loudly as she passed. "Look at her shoes, they're practically falling apart. Doesn't she know this is the city, not her barn?" Their laughter echoed, sharp and cruel. Maria lowered her gaze but kept walking. She wasn't easily shaken, but something about the ridicule stung. The women didn't even know her name, yet they dismissed her as if she were nothing. Later that day, at a small boutique, Maria picked up some fabric. She enjoyed sewing her own clothes when she had the time. But as she stood at the counter, a group of men entered, sons of wealthy businessmen in town. They laughed when they saw her. "Looks like the farmer's wife got lost," one of them joked. "Careful, she might smell like hay," another sneered. Even the shop attendant treated her poorly, speaking down to her, delaying her bill while rushing to help others. Maria left the shop silently, clutching her fabric. She walked through the busy street, their laughter still ringing in her ears. But deep inside, a quiet strength stirred. She had faced droughts, storms, and loss in her life. This ridicule, though painful, would not break her. She knew who she was. But fate had its own way of revealing truth, and it would happen sooner than anyone expected. A week later, the mayor of the town organized a charity gala. It was the event of the year. Businessmen, socialites, and elites gathered to showcase donations and network. Maria received an invitation too. At first, she thought it was a mistake, but it wasn't. Her farmland was crucial for the town's economy, and her quiet contributions had not gone unnoticed. The night of the gala, the same women and men who had mocked her at the market were there. Dressed in glittering gowns and sharp suits, they sipped champagne, exchanged fake smiles, and measured each other's worth by appearance. When Maria entered, she wore a simple navy blue dress she had sewn herself. It wasn't flashy, but it fit her gracefully. Still, whispers began again. "Why is she here? Look at that dress, it's so plain. She doesn't belong." But then the mayor took the stage. He began thanking donors, people who had supported hospitals, schools, and farming initiatives. As the names were read, Maria stayed quiet in her chair. But then, and now, our largest benefactor this year, the mayor announced, the woman who has silently funded scholarships for dozens of children, repaired our town's roads, and provided jobs to countless families. Please welcome Maria Alvarez. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to the farm woman they had mocked. Maria stood slowly. The lights caught her not in diamonds or silk, but in dignity. She walked to the stage as gasps filled the hall. Those who had laughed at her now shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Maria spoke softly, but her voice carried strength. "I was taught by my father that wealth is not measured by the clothes we wear, but by the lives we touch. I choose to live simply, because simplicity reminds me of what truly matters: kindness, humility, and community. To those who laughed at me, I don't hold anger. Instead, I hope you remember this: never judge a person by what they wear, because you may not know the size of their heart or their story." When she finished, the hall erupted, not in laughter, but in respect. The women who had mocked her lowered their heads. The men who had sneered avoided her gaze, and the shop attendant from earlier now realized the mistake of underestimating her. Maria returned to her farm the next morning, just as she always did. She fed her chickens, walked through her fields, and breathed in the morning air. Nothing about her life changed, except for the way others now saw her. But for Maria, the most important lesson was unchanged. True wealth lies not in money, but in humility, generosity, and strength of character. Never laugh at someone's outfit, their shoes, or their simplicity. You never know who they truly are, or how much stronger and richer they might be than you. Because in the end, what really matters is not how you look, but how you live.